Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the podcast today with Alyssa PODTALKS. Every week with Alyssa. Today we're gonna be talking about Easter because Easter is gonna be this weekend. So we're gonna have Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so 4 days off, which often can mean that there's gonna be quite a few celebrations going on the weekend, which means we might be feeling, or you guys might be feeling a little bit of stress that there's too much going on, and you might be worried that this weekend is gonna make you take maybe one step back and it's going to throw away all your progress. So we're going to share with you guys some tips to help you stay on track this weekend and at the same time enjoy this weekend, because that's the main thing. We want you guys to have that balance with everything. How are you today, Alyssa? I know you're a little bit sick, but thank you for being here.
I know people probably are like, what is wrong with this woman? She's always sick. Yeah, so I might have to like blow my nose a few times, but I'll try to put on mute. But yeah, just sick again. I had a few good weeks and then maybe just I think because I've been away, and like the different environment and different routine, just yeah, being around kids and yeah, all
Mm.
the above. But we're gonna soldier on and we're going to do this pod talk because I think it's something that a lot of you guys listening will appreciate, and hopefully it can help you feel more at ease, and we can give you some strategies to help you get through this time, because I think a lot of people, it's the same with like that Christmas time. They kind of dread these holidays because of the food side, and it's like, what is it going to do to me? You really want to be present, enjoy it with your family, and just realize that for you to put on significant amount of weight, you would have to consume a lot more than what you probably think.
Mhm.
So yeah, everyone's going to be, a bit fluidy next week and, a bit out of routine, but you know what? You just get back on track and then that's all you can do.
Yeah, I think like the main reminder for now, it's to tell you guys, and I feel like most of you guys know this, but it's always good to have that little reminder. And exactly what Alice said, like it's only gonna be 4 days, and obviously this weekend is gonna be different for everyone. Maybe you're gonna be going away, maybe every single day you're gonna have different events, which means more food every single day, or different foods from what you usually have on a daily basis. But just because you're gonna be out of your normal routine for 4 days, it doesn't mean that you're gonna take 20 steps back. It doesn't mean that you're gonna gain a lot of weight in just 4 days. Sorry. You might retain a little bit of water if you eat different foods, but it's just water, it's not body fat. So 4 days of going a little bit of track here and there, it's completely fine. The main thing is always to try to get back on track, to try to get back to your normal routine after. Whether you're taking 4 days off, maybe you're taking a little bit longer, maybe you took this time to go away for 1 week, whatever you're doing. Just when you come back, things are gonna get back to normal. So try not to stress too much, because I feel like if you stress too much before this weekend, so maybe right now you're like stressing so much, that's not really gonna let you enjoy the weekend. And you're just gonna be thinking too much about like, I shouldn't have this. This is healthy. This is unhealthy. Labeling food. This is healthy and healthy, good, bad. And maybe you're gonna be okay on Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday you're gonna be like, you know what? I had enough. I'm gonna go crazy and eat everything. And it's gonna create those very unhealthy patterns that we already know. And it's a cycle that we're trying to break through. So keep that in mind. I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest tip we can give you to start this podcast. It's gonna be okay. It's just
Yeah.
it's nothing else. Yeah, but now we're gonna share with you guys some tips so you can start applying from today if you're going away, or tomorrow, but the whole weekend, and just applying little things. We don't have to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Making little changes, it's gonna help you have that balance. It is gonna help you enjoy the weekend. So the first tip, do you want to go first or should I go first?
Yeah, you can start it off. I know that we talked a little bit before this about some tips. So yeah, go for it.
The first one I would say, again, very simple tips, is stay hydrated.
Yeah.
And to stay hydrated, you might be thinking like, come on, Danny, we always stay hydrated. We do, but it often happens that when our routine is a little bit different,
Yeah.
different things, we forget about our water. We forget to, maybe you don't take your water bottle with you. Maybe you're just doing different things. You're a little bit more busy, which means you're not really too worried about drinking water, or you just don't think about it too much. So stay hydrated is going to be key. Whether you it's just whether you just drink water, maybe you have some herbal teas because it's getting cold here in New Zealand, maybe you have something else, but stay hydrated, because often we confuse hunger, sorry,
Yeah.
thirst with hunger.
Yeah,
If
definitely.
you're thirsty, you're gonna think like, oh, I think I'm hungry, but you're just thirsty. So
Yeah,
yeah, drinking your water your priority. I know it's annoying because you have to pee all the time,
I know.
but just try to make it a priority this weekend.
It's worth it. And I think people really underestimate the hydration side.
Mm.
Like they're like, oh, we always hear this, like, stay hydrated. It's like it's so important, not just this weekend, but in general, but like especially when these events are coming around, it's even more important to
Yeah.
make sure that you're staying hydrated. So yeah, we don't just say it because it's like, oh, like
Yeah. Drink your water.
it's like it actually is so important and it does make a difference.
Yeah.
And I feel like as well a lot of that sluggish feeling
Mhm.
that people have is because, and a lot of people say, even my clients, they get to like these, like let's say like these 4 days at the end, they'll be like, oh wow, like I'm feeling it because I think I'm dehydrated. You know what I mean? Like that's another thing as well. So they feel sluggish because they've eaten a lot of different foods, but they're also dehydrated on top of that. And they feel really sluggish. So trying to rebuild that. So yeah, definitely, yeah, stay hydrated, 100%.
And I
Yeah,
think also, yeah, if you a really good sign that hopefully it's not happening to you, but if you're getting like really bad cramps at nighttime, maybe on your legs or your calves, there's many factors, but one of them can be dehydration. So if you're not drinking enough water, you might be getting those cramps on your calves or your legs. Other things can be like an imbalance in electrolytes. It can be dehydration, so not drinking enough water. It can be maybe genetics. So there's quite a few things, but again, keep in mind hydration is gonna be key. The second thing that I would suggest, be mindful with what you eat. And
yeah,
when I say be mindful, again, another tip that we always suggest, but it's because basics applied every single time.
yeah,
We want you to enjoy that cake. We want you to enjoy that meal that your partner cooks, or your auntie, or your cousin, or maybe you cook. Don't restrict yourself from those delicious foods because food is just food. There's no good or bad, healthy and healthy. There's just some things are more nutritious than others, yes, but it doesn't mean that we should have only healthy food and nothing else. So you
yeah,
want to make sure that you enjoy that. Let's say you're gonna make a nice barbecue and you're gonna make a cake, for example, have that. But by being mindful means like don't have like a huge plate and don't go and have the whole cake by yourself. Just be
yeah.
mindful of your portion. Once you feel like you are getting full, stop. Like really listen to your hunger, not hunger, to
And
your
people don't, yeah, like the Hunger Games, people don't they don't actually know how to be mindful. Like
no.
sometimes when you're engrossed in the food, you're just going, 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 and then you're like, oh, you don't even realize that you're full.
Mm,
But I think that comes from what you were saying before as well. Like people that are really restricting themselves,
mhm.
as soon as they get a taste of that, it's like boom. It's like
Yeah.
the hunger hormones, like their ghrelin and all of that, all those hormones just kind of spike. And it's actually hard to come out of that. Like it takes for the next few days, they may have those cravings and whatnot. But I feel like it's coming from those people that are really restrictive. So, like you were saying before, and I'm really big on this as well. We shouldn't be labeling food as good and bad. And I think that's the problem. Like people, because they're so restrictive and they cut everything, when they have these events, they don't know how to control themselves. Their body is like, wow, what is this? And they're like, consuming everything. So I think it's important when you are dieting or you're in a deficit or you're trying to lose weight that you still have those foods in your diet because you don't want to get to these events and be like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for like, you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
so long and I'm just gonna inhale it. So and that comes around like social media as well. I find it's good and bad. Like I've actually been seeing a lot at the moment. It's really sad. Like people saying you shouldn't be having this and you shouldn't be having that and you should eat only whole foods. And I get that from a health perspective, but I've learned over the years and even with my clients, you need some of those other foods in there that maybe not they're not as nutritious, but just those foods that you're going to enjoy. That way, when you get to these events, you're not like, oh my God, like you're so fixated on it. You know what I mean? You can get to those events and be like, oh, you know what? I had chocolate like 2 days ago, or I had a piece of cake at a birthday last week. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like these are the people that struggle, the ones that are so restrictive. They go in and their body is just like, yeah, just goes
Yeah.
crazy.
And exactly what you said, like there's so much. social media can be good and bad. But there's so much really good information out there. But there's also information even from people that have no background about nutrition. Maybe they know a little bit about nutrition because it's something that has worked for them, their body type. And I saw
Yeah.
this video, I think it was TikTok, yeah, on TikTok. This girl was talking about, she's not a nutritionist at all. She does something completely different, but she was talking about like, I just read this book and the author of this book recommended not to have any sugar in your diet. I remove all the sugar in my diet. And this is what you should be doing if you want to be healthy, if you want to have
Yeah.
immunity,
Hearing
remove
so
all the
much
sugar.
that
And I was
late.
like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you recommend that? Do you even know, how can you completely remove all sugars from your diet?
Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
is it gonna
You
be
can't.
realistic?
Yeah. Like you just can't. And like it's the same thing. Like I've seen, actually, I was actually going to share it because he's really big on social media, this guy, and he is promoting like going to the shops, don't eat this, don't eat that. But
Mm-hmm.
this is working for him. This is not for everyone. If you want to like live that and have that approach, that's fine. But like even with my clients, like especially if they have a sweet tooth, like I'll add in some foods, like a balance. Like for example, a really popular meal that my clients are loving at the moment is like oats with protein powder with a little bit of crushed Oreos on top. You know,
Yeah.
what I mean? They've
Yes.
still got carbs, they've still got protein. You know what I mean? But that little bit of like sweetness, I feel like they're having a treat. Like make it like a cake. You know what I mean? Like those little things that you can add in, they make a big difference. And it's not saying that's for everyone because not everyone has a sweet tooth or anything like that, but don't think that you can't have these foods at all. And then this goes back to our point of like, this weekend, you're going to enjoy food more if you're like, oh, I'm not craving everything. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important for people to keep that in mind. And I mean, Easter's tomorrow. So if you're already someone listening and you've been, dieting for so long and you've cut out all sugar and you're like, oh, it's too late now. It's like, no, maybe think about how you can adopt some other approaches like moving forward. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah, I mean, that's a big thing
Yeah.
as
And I feel like once you get to that mindset or once you achieve that relationship with food, like you're okay having that chocolate and you're also okay having your meals. Like once you have that balance between both, and once you don't feel guilty whenever you have that ice cream, that burger, those chips, that's when you know, okay, I have a really good balance with everything. I've reached
yeah,
that goal that I wanted to reach, or I've reached that stage in my life that I'm okay having this and I'm also okay having that. I don't
yeah,
label food anymore as good or bad, and I can enjoy things and I can enjoy my life because I feel
yeah,
like having that relationship with food, it will honestly let you enjoy your life. Because when
yeah,
you worry too much about all the labels, say good, about healthy and healthy, it just becomes too time consuming. Like it consumes your energy too much
yeah, definitely.
because you're constantly thinking about it. You're thinking good, bad, healthy, want to gain weight, I want this, blah, blah, blah. And you're
Yeah.
wasting time. So yeah.
And these events are going to be fun for you. They're going to be, you're not going to be so food focused. You're not going to be so worried about, so like I even said to my girls this, I said this weekend, like, don't even touch the scale. Don't worry about it. Put it away. Just enjoy the weekend. Be present, you
Yeah.
know, pick something that you really like. Okay, I'm going to have that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not something where you should be stressing about jumping on the scale the next morning to see how much weight you put on from the day before, because realistically, that scale number is not going to be fat. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be water retention. It's going to be like, if you're someone who's has the same amount of carbs every day, you eating that bit more of carbs, well, it's going to obviously spike on the scale. You know what I mean? So there's so many factors to consider. So that's why I say to people, they really go wrong where they will literally weigh themselves the next day and they're like, oh, what have I done? And, killing themselves with cardio the next day. But then they go to another event and it's like, no, just, you know, we've all been there.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I'm guilty of doing that many years ago before I had any education around, foods and nutrition and all that. I used to, you know, after an event the next morning think I'm going to go straight to the gym, burn it off, and it's like,
That was me.
yeah, and it's like, don't have that mindset. Like, if you want to train this weekend, that's fine. But, like, for example, for me, tomorrow, Friday, is a normal training day for me.
Mm.
So I might just train tomorrow and then have like the next 2 days off. So it's like, if you want to, yes, but don't use it as punishment. you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
for what you've done, like, or what you've had over the weekend.
Yeah. And there's still people with that mindset or with
Yeah,
that relationship with training. Or people thinking that if I train more, I want to be able or allowed to eat more food.
yeah, yeah,
So that's why they go really crazy. They
yeah,
might be really crazy with the workouts this weekend, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
yeah,
Yeah, I need to sweat it off. I need to sweat it all off. But trade if you start seeing training that way, just to make you feel better or to burn those calories that you have burned, then you're gonna start creating that unhealthy relationship with training. Because training should be something that you enjoy doing. You might obviously not enjoy every single day because there's gonna be days that you won't feel like training. But if you
yeah,
use it just as a punishment and you use it just like I have to train because I just ate too much, it's gonna be that unhealthy relationship. And I think the next tip, something that you just mentioned right now, will be like don't use the scales this weekend because
yeah,
those numbers are gonna go up. And if you're someone that gets way too fixated with numbers,
yeah,
you're just gonna make things worse for yourself if you keep
yeah,
checking that number and then you see those grams going up, or maybe you go up 1 kg or 2 kgs, you're gonna get very disappointed. You're
yeah,
gonna get very discouraged, and then you're gonna be like, what the hell, I already gained 2 kgs, I might as well
yeah,
just have whatever and then I'll go back on track next week on Tuesday.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing as well. Actually, that's a really good point. Like some people let it like derail them, where they're like, "Oh, I've put on 2 kilos. I'm just gonna like go crazy this weekend, and I'll start again Monday." So that's a really bad habit as well, because you'll find that you'll really, really struggle, and like you don't want to just go all in and think, "Oh yeah." Like I think a lot of people, when they hear us say, like, take a more relaxed approach, don't stress, don't worry about scale, they automatically think, oh, that's my chance to like go all in. But it's like, no, just we're telling you to have that moderation, still enjoy it, but just don't let it derail you.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Yeah, don't let it like completely ride you off where you just, have that like a mentality, I'm just going to eat whatever. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's important as well, like to kind of take the message of, yes, enjoying yourself, but obviously remembering your goals and remembering that after feeling, you know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
that's really important.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next tip. Like, stop trying to be perfect.
Yeah,
Stop trying to do everything perfect because we are not perfect. Our lives are not perfect and they will never be perfect
yeah,
because if that was the case, that would be extremely boring. And it's the same thing with your diet. Like, your diet is not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to be 100% on track with every single little thing. There might be people like that, maybe one in a million, but
yeah,
it is very impossible. And again, if you're trying to be perfect and then something goes wrong, you ate the thing that you shouldn't be eating, you're gonna go back to that mindset. What the hell? I'll get it started next week. And
yeah,
we're trying to break that cycle. If you have been listening to our podcast for the past few weeks and months, this is something we always tell you. We constantly tell you guys that we need
yeah,
to break that cycle. Because if we
yeah.
don't break it, that cycle, it's simply gonna keep
Never
cycling.
ending.
It's gonna,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
it's
Uh,
never gonna end.
like those people that they like we're talking about it last time, they drop weight throughout the week and then boom, spikes back up on the weekend, they drop it again, and it's like they don't actually ever lose it. It's kind of just like yo-yoing. So I think that's really important to keep in mind as well. But obviously there's going to be weekends like this where you're not going to have complete control over everything. And just don't beat yourself up. But I think, people need to stop using these events as an excuse to completely go all in and just
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, it's Christmas, it's Easter. Like, it's like you can still enjoy these foods
Mm-hmm.
for you to, but just like, have one instead of having two, three pieces of cake, have one, Um,
Exactly.
instead of having all of the desserts that are on the table, if they're little, maybe just pick one or two. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're still going to enjoy it. You're still going to have the flavors. You're still going to be present. You're not going to be totally like, oh, I'm not going to have it and just staring at it all night. You know what I mean? Have it, but just, yeah, be really a little bit more smarter about your choices. And I think that's going to help you. And you're going to feel better for it because you're going to get to next week and be like, oh, you know what? I actually didn't like stuff myself to the point where I couldn't move. You know what I mean? So yeah, just keeping that in mind and understanding that this should be not only for these events, but for your lifestyle, not restricting yourself, but then not overdoing it as well to the point where you're ruining your progress. You're setting all of these, signals off in your body where it's like, give me more type thing. So yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, because like if you do that, like let's say you have all the foods and then you feel bloated, then the next day your energy levels are gonna be so low, and then you're gonna feel yuck. You're gonna feel bloated. You're gonna feel like disappointed because you're gonna be like, why did I do that to myself again? It will happen again that day, and then the next day and Monday. Okay, I'll get back on track on Tuesday. And because you already had those foods or that mindset the whole weekend, it's gonna be very hard for you to get back on track with your normal routine on Tuesday. And
Yeah.
a really good tip for you guys to stop having the whole table and just have one, your portion or just one piece of cake or one ice cream or one of this, one of that. Before you go, let's say you just finish your cake. Before you go to have a second piece of cake, before you go for your second round, take a little pause, because often I feel like when we rush, like, yeah, I just finished my cake. I want more. It's so yummy.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you do it without thinking about it. If you do it just, because you have that craving, you're gonna have that second round, maybe even like a third round, and then you're gonna be like, shit, what did I just do? But if
Yeah,
you take a little pause, take a pause, literally talk to yourself and be like, okay, I just had my cake. I satisfied my craving.
yeah,
Feel hungry right now? Yes or no? Okay, let's say you say yes. It's eating that cake gonna make me feel good? Like, what will my future self, that person that I want to be in the future, that person how I want to look in the future, what will that person say right now or do right now? If
yeah,
whatever decision you make in that time, it's gonna decide how the outcome goes. Because remember, it's all the little things that we do on a daily basis that is gonna help
yeah,
you take you to the long-term success. So
yeah,
having that little pause and taking your time before rushing to have another piece of cake, you're not going to convince yourself that you don't need another one, but you're going to realize that
yeah,
actually I don't need that second piece of cake.
yeah, that's
I
right.
was just going a little bit crazy because it's very yummy, but I don't need it. Like,
Yeah,
do I want it? Yeah, I want it. Do I need it? Do I have to? No, I don't have to.
yeah,
No, I don't need it. Maybe later you really feel like it, then have it later. But
yeah,
because you already had that conversation with yourself, you're gonna feel much, much better.
yeah,
That's something, yeah, that I've been suggesting to my clients, and they use it all the time. And just taking that little pause, it helps them so
yeah.
much.
That awareness of what you're doing and taking control.
Taking
Yeah,
exactly, especially when you have cravings, because there's different types of cravings. It can be habitual craving, it can be mindless craving, it can be emotional craving, it can be social craving. So once you find out which one you're doing, which type of craving you're having, it's gonna be much easier to take that pause, reflect, and then
yeah.
do whatever you have to do. But after you take that pause. So I really want you guys to try that and try it every single time, not just try
Not
again.
just
Yes,
weekend.
yeah.
Yeah,
Be consistent with the tips. Don't just try it for one occasion, just one off. It has to be done all the time if you truly want it to work.
yeah, that's right.
Right.
And that's like the whole thing. I think like we've definitely covered it in our previous like pod talks, but that whole idea of like people go into these events starving and that's when they overeat as well. Like do not skip all your, especially if you've got something later in the day and people will starve themselves. They're like, oh, I'm saving my calories for the night. And then they go in and they'll literally consume like 4,000 calories in one sitting because they're so hungry. Like I know myself, if I was to go into an event later in the day and I haven't eaten all day, I'm going to be so hungry. How can you make conscious decisions
Mm-hmm.
when you're that hungry? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And your body's just going to, as soon as it gets a taste, that's it. So I always say to my girls, have meals throughout the day before you go into an event. But you know what? You might just make them like lower calorie, more protein rich, like kind of meals, especially if you know you're going to have a lot of carbs at this event. You can save them for the night. But keeping yourself satiated, having that protein, like I say to people, just get up normally. Have whatever meal that you have in the morning, like whether it's your eggs on toast or your oats and protein, whatever it is, just go about your day as normal. And then you're going to have calories left anyways because you would have eaten dinner, maybe another snack or two. So just trying to, you know, keep that in mind that you don't want to go into any event. And this is what we were saying before about even night outs that you have, setting yourself up for
Mm-hmm.
sabotage. It
Yeah.
really is. Like, trust me, if you go in an event with more fullness and you're like, oh, I've eaten, I'm not starving, you're going to make better choices naturally.
Yeah.
So like people don't realize what hunger can do. Like that is such a powerful,
It is.
it's so powerful. It's like another person in you. When you're hungry, you make irrational decisions and it's like, I'm just going to go for it. So making sure that you're full is important as well. And, making sure that you fill your plate with protein, rather than just having a plate just full of rice. Okay, can I have some chicken, some meat, some fish, whatever it is with that as well, to kind of have a bit more control. So I think people really need to keep that in mind as well, because too many people do it. Like I know, and I know even some of my girls, they're already thinking about it. And I'm like, do not do it. Do
That.
not. Yeah. Like, don't, like, just go about your day as normal, because trust me, when you go in starving, it's worse. It's
Mm,
worse.
yeah,
And
and that's a mistake I've done way too many times in the past.
yeah,
You had that celebration or that thing going on that day, so I was like, hey, I'm not gonna eat anything. I'm not gonna drink much water because I don't want to make myself full. I'm just gonna be
yeah,
chewing gum and nothing else. And then once the event, when you go to the event, you're so hungry because you're probably gonna be hours and hours without any food, maybe without any
right.
liquid. And that's why we make those decisions, or what that's why we make those choices and we eat a little bit too much. And then it's just, yeah, again, it's the same cycle. So don't do that. Just have your meals as usual. If you know you're gonna be going out for lunch every single day this weekend, or maybe lunch and dinner, have your breakfast at home.
Yeah,
Have your breakfast, maybe if you have any snacks in between, have one of your snacks and then go to the lunch. If you don't have any snacks, maybe you're someone who only likes to eat 3 meals a day, 3 main meals a day, then just have your breakfast beforehand. Have your coffee
yeah,
if you have one breakfast, then enjoy your meals for lunch, for dinner. And when you are at the event or at the, your cousin's house or whatever, filling your plate, like you said, with protein, have your
yeah,
portion of veggies. More veggies, the better. If you're really hungry, put more veggies. Have your portion of carbs. Don't be afraid of having carbs because that's one thing that my clients, some of my clients, they're struggling with. Whenever they go out to have that meal, they feel like I shouldn't have any carbs. I'm just gonna fill my plate with protein and veggies and nothing else. Don't be afraid of carbs. Like carbs, remember, are your best friends. So wait, can you hear me now? I think you lost me for a little bit.
yeah, yeah, there we go. Yeah, we just lost connection. Yeah.
Yeah. But I was
Yeah,
saying, yeah, don't be afraid to fill in your plate with carbs because that's one issue that some of my clients are having. And then
yeah,
when they have that meal on the weekend, they feel like it should just be protein and veggies, nothing else. Like, no, it shouldn't.
yeah,
Enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. If you do it by choice because you truly just want to have that protein and salad, then have that. But
yeah.
if you are saying like I shouldn't be having carbs because they're so bad, like don't think like that. You want
No,
to enjoy that, have you
yeah,
everything, you're gonna feel satisfied. And I think yeah, another tip will be like eat until you feel satisfied.
yeah.
Don't make yourself too full to the
Stopped.
point, yeah,
Yeah,
that you're gonna be bloated and like, oh, I
yeah,
can't make room for dessert now. Like you don't want to get to that point because it's not a nice
yeah,
feeling, number one. And number
yeah,
two, you're not really listening to your body, and then you're gonna keep doing the same thing every single day or every single weekend, and you're gonna
yeah,
keep feeling guilty every single time.
yeah.
That cycle gonna keep cycling, it's gonna keep
You're
cycling,
right
it's
there.
gonna change.
Yeah,
Yeah. So listen to those cues that your body's giving you, whether it's your hunger cues, fullness cues, listen to your body because if you're not paying
yeah.
attention,
Then that's it.
nothing's gonna change. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, and it's good because I think like these tips that we can or that you could try to adopt this weekend are something that you can take with you for the rest of your journey. You know what I mean? For life, because that's what it's all about. you
Mhm.
know, and it's so sad. Like, I don't know if you've seen it on social media, like around this time. And it's like, look, I understand where people are coming from, but there's a lot of posts around like, okay, if you eat this chocolate bunny, this is how much exercise you need to do to burn it off.
Oh yeah, that
You eat, if
that
you eat a hot cross bun, you need to do this amount on the treadmill or the cross trainer to burn it off. And I'm like, no, I'm like, this is where people will literally go, oh, okay, I'm going to eat that. And then I'm going to go do that exercise. And it's like, no, like for starters, we cannot actually measure what it takes to burn a certain ingredient or food off because everyone burns calories differently. Not every one person is the same. So, for example, me burning 100 calories is completely different to like you burning 100 calories, you know? It's going to take different times. We have different bodies, you know, different structures. If you have more muscle, less muscle, you know, if you're a beginner or advanced, and it's like, so that message, I really, yeah, I've seen that a lot. And I'm just like, no, don't think that you can burn off this food through exercise and then measure it against items, because then, like, you know, some people actually do it. They're like, oh, 100 calories for this bunny. All right, I'm going to eat the chocolate bunny. I'm going to go do 100 calories on the treadmill, you know, and it's like, no, you don't want to be in that mindset. So don't really fall into the trap of, like we were saying before, punishing yourself with exercise, but just be careful what you see on social media as well.
Yeah.
I think that's really, yeah,
Yeah. And
really,
for me, that's one of the reasons why I don't like things like I do and I don't. I don't like things like Apple Watch, for example, for the reason that some people get too obsessed with the numbers, because it shows you burn 200 calories, you burn 300 calories.
yeah,
Some people get too obsessed and too fixated with them. They're like, oh, okay, I burned 200 calories. Now I can eat this. You
yeah, yeah.
that. Or they just ate something. Okay, now I need to burn 200 calories to be able to lose body fat. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't work like that. I know that it maybe kind of makes sense if you think about it, but it doesn't really make sense. It's not really how our body works.
Well,
So,
even it's interesting you mentioned that. With the Apple Watches, see, I literally only use it for step count. I
mhm.
would not, like, a lot of people said, oh, I've burnt this much calories today. I'm like, no, no, no. No, it's not accurate like that. Because then they think, oh, the calories on my watch, if I burn over a certain amount, I've burned my whole days of food. And it's like, no, 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 that's not how it works. So I'm the same with the Apple Watch. I never, like, even through a workout, I won't put my watch on as a workout because it tells you how many calories you burn. And I'm like, how accurate is it? I literally just use it for my girls as step count, like for a rough idea. That way we can use it as data and be like, okay, maybe next week we can increase by 1,000 like steps, but never, yeah, never the calories.
Mm.
Was a lot of people are trying to match their watch with their food, and you can't do that. Like it's like no, big no no. And then they're like, oh, I've got like only 300 calories to go, and then I've burnt all my food off, and it's like no, don't do that. So yeah, I always say to my girls as well, like I never tell them to check the calories. I just say like it's just a good measure for steps, and that's it. Otherwise, like you said, people become really obsessed with it, and they will like kill themselves in their workouts. And it's like, if you think about it, weights actually, like, you shouldn't really, if you're doing like strength training and resistance training, you shouldn't be getting your heart rate up to like 140, 150 as if you were like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yeah.
people need to stop trying to measure everything through a device. It's like, just train hard, train all, and that's it. Like, don't even stress about that. I understand like people that if they want to burn fat, like they say there's certain zones to get into, like 120 to 140. And like okay, from a fat burning perspective, yes, okay, maybe you're burning more, but you don't want to be doing that in your weight session. Like that's going to be hard. You're not going to be able to lift weights if your heart rate's at like 140. You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, just don't measure it using that. Or don't think, okay, now I've eaten a chocolate bunny, I'm gonna go burn 300 calories on my watch, and then that should be good. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a mistake I did in the past. I wasn't
Yeah,
using Apple Watch, but I was using something else. I don't know what the name was, but I was using something else and I was like tracking and I was like, yeah, I burned this many calories. Yeah, and now I can eat that. Or I just, I use my fitness pals and I don't know what maths I was doing in my head, but I was doing something. And I just became so obsessed with that. And it gets very unhealthy. Like it gets very, very unhealthy. And if we tell you guys all of this, it's because we want you to learn from our mistakes. We want
yeah,
you learn from our failures because success leaves clues, but also failure leaves clues. And if you can hear this all the time from coaches or people that have been in this journey for years and years and years, maybe it's telling you something, maybe it's telling you like, don't make the same mistakes that we have done for so long.
yeah,
Like if you can learn it now and change that and not do it, it's gonna make your journey much easier. Not my journey because I already made those mistakes, but it's gonna make your journey much, much easier. And something else I was gonna mention about two things. First, Apple Watch. Another thing I really don't like about Apple Watches is because you know how you get your notifications if someone sends you a text or if someone's trying to call you and all of that. I think that's an amazing technology. But when you are training specifically at the gym, people get so distracted with that. And it's just like, you know, you're trying to do your work and you're like, check you. Trying to do your...
I always put mine on do not disturb.
Yeah.
Working out. To not get the notifications, because then just habit, you automatically like look down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that as well. So like if you're someone that's easily distracted in your workouts, I would put it on do not disturb, just so you can be completely present with your session, because then you'll find you're resting for like 2-3 minutes just because you're, you know, looking. So so yeah, just that's another good point as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you have an Apple Watch, either don't take it or just you know, like do not disturb, because
Yeah.
that's distract you so much. And if you're not paying attention, if you're not present in your workout, it's gonna be much harder to have that mind muscle connection, because maybe someone texted you and you're gonna be thinking about the thing that
About
person
that text. Yeah. Or I have to reply.
exactly. I have to reply. Yeah, and it's just when you're at the gym, you should be at the gym. You shouldn't be somewhere else. Obviously our mind is always gonna be wandering, you know, going places. But try as much as you can to stay present and to avoid those kind of distractions. And the second thing I was gonna mention about training, if you can, only if you can, try to stay active this weekend, whether it's going to the gym or going for walks, you know, stay active. If it's part of your routine and you're going to stay, you know, in your hometown or your city, you're not really going anywhere, try to stay active because it's part of your routine. And having that routine that you always have makes things much easier for you to stay on track. But if you're going away somewhere and maybe you want to have access to a gym, it's okay if you don't work out for 4 days or, you know, 3 days. It's okay if you miss 1 or 2 training sessions. It's not going to be the end of the world, I promise. Just because you didn't train on Sunday, or maybe because you're not going to train tomorrow, it doesn't mean that you're going to throw all your progress away. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose your strength. It doesn't mean that you're going to lose all your gains. It just means that you're going to rest a little bit longer. Yeah. And that's it. Nothing is going to happen. Next week, when you're back on track or back to your routine, then get back on track with your training.
Yeah.
And also, I think another thing to mention is like next week, don't try to make up for the sessions that you didn't do during.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Because let's say if you're someone who normally trains 4 times a week and then you miss 2 trainings and then next week you want to make up for those trainings, it will mean that you have to train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. You know, it's just not realistic. It's nothing is gonna happen.
Like even last week I was away and I normally train 5 days a week. Last week I only trained 3. I didn't like come back this week and was like, all right, I just literally came back, got back into my usual routine, and that's it. You know, I didn't make up for lost time. I didn't make up for the fact that I missed it. Like these things happen and it's like 1 week of doing that. Obviously, if you're consistently missing your sessions and it's like happening all the time, different story. But if it's going to be these odd times where you are, just don't beat yourself up. And like this is another thing as well. There will be people next week that will restrict themselves so much. They will literally eat. They're like, oh, I'm going to eat nothing next week. I'm just going to eat like protein and salad to make up for all the calories they consume. And it's like, no, the best thing you can do for your body is just get back on track. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, don't go thinking, all right, next week I'm going to eat, 1,200 calories or 1,000 calories just to, and then I'll drop it all. Like, it's like, no, it's such a bad mindset to have. Your body thrives off routine. It thrives off consistency. So if you were to just get back on track, you'll find, like, even me being away and obviously having different meals that my body wasn't used to, my digestion, wasn't the same. And I was a little bit bloated, but literally from when did I get back? Sunday? Yeah. I got straight back on track and my body's just gone back to normal naturally. I didn't restrict myself. I still had all my carbs, all my usual meals. It's just getting back on track. You know what I mean? I didn't go to the gym the next day and smash myself with cardio. And you know what? I've just gone back to how I was before last week. I was a little bit fluidy the past few days, but that's it. You know what I mean? I think if I restricted myself, I would have actually been worse. I would have felt like, oh my God, like I feel so drained. I feel, and then I would have got to this weekend and felt so hungry. So I think people need to keep that in mind. Like, best thing you can do when being away, and you would know this as well, like even when you were away, it's just
Mhm.
get back on track. That's it. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
trying to punish yourself. And it's so sad that I see so many people doing this, punishing themselves and, restricting themselves after an event. It's like, it's not the way to go about it.
Mm.
Your body will naturally go back to that baseline, will drop all that water weight naturally. You're probably putting more stress on yourself when you're restricting, and you're going to set yourself up for sabotage because you'll probably spend the next 5 days, restricting yourself, get to the weekend, and it's like, oh my God, I've been so restricted. I'm so hungry. I'm going to eat everything in sight. So, yeah, really important to know. Don't worry about what happened on the weekend. Just when Tuesday comes around, get back on track. And that's it, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah. Don't punish yourself. Like, don't punish yourself with your training or with your nutrition.
Yeah.
Because like those events are always gonna be happening. Obviously Easter is only once a year, but you always gonna have things going on, birthdays, weddings, work events, social events. If you do this, imagine doing this every single time you have something going on.
Yeah, that's right. And
Imagine
there's people
punishing
that
yourself.
do, and it makes me really sad. It's like, you can't live like that. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I don't think people understand it because they're still in that mindset of, and there's so much information out there on social media that you've got to be in a deficit to lose weight. Yes, yes, you do. But I think they think I can make up for it by creating such a big deficit after these events that my body's going to drop. And it's like, don't think like that, because you're never going to truly be free with freedom of, not feeling that guilt, like you were saying before, and that freedom of, just being able to go about your normal day, so really think about that and think, what am I going to be better off doing? Restricting myself where I feel shit and then I'm probably going to be craving more food, or just get back on track and eat the foods that I was eating before,
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
you really need to. I don't think people do it, though they don't experience it. I think because we've experienced it, it's like, okay, we know, and that's a perfect example. Like I was telling my clients, like, look at me, I was away 4 days eating all different foods, obviously not, eating fully on my plan. And I literally just came back and did not like nothing, just woke up, back on track, and that's it. And I'm trying to tell them it's okay. That's what you've got to do. That's all you have to do, So um yeah, I think I don't know. I thought by now, with all the social media and what's out there, people would have less of that mindset of, you know, after an event, not eating for the whole day. Like people still say it. They're like, oh, yeah, after an event, I'll just go on like a whole 24-hour fast. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I literally want to like cry. I'm like, no, no, do not do that. Yeah.
That's something that I realized as well. Like there's still so many people, like way
Yeah.
many people that still have that mindset of like fasting, depriving themselves, punishing themselves. And I think it's because like even though there's so much information online, either they get too overwhelming with all the information online, or maybe they just don't really read too much about it. They don't really engage with those pages. Maybe for them, their Instagram is full of I don't know, movies, different things, but not really related to fitness. So yeah, there's still a lot of people, there's more than 8 billion people in this world. And you
Yeah.
will that yeah, people are more aware of the nutrition and the health and the
I
problems.
just don't think they have the tools and the strategies in place to make it a lifestyle change. They're still in that very restrictive mindset. And it's something that I really, really try to teach my girls is don't have that restrictive mindset. You know what I mean? You can still enjoy these foods, you can still enjoy these events. Don't feel guilty. It's just, yeah, just try to adopt the strategies. All the strategies that we talk about every week,
Yeah.
I'm like, use them because that's what's worked for us. That's what has worked for, some of our clients that we've worked with. We've worked with so many people over the years that we can kind of, well, we have a good idea now. This is what works. These are some strategies that you can take on. But yeah, it's really interesting that people still say that. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
something that I used to hear a lot of, like back in the day, but it's like now with the awareness and so much education around food, you think that people would be, but they're not. And
They're not
it's,
yeah. And that
yeah,
just shows you like people that still have that mindset, they just need that guidance. And
yeah.
it's if you don't have that guidance, if you don't have that help, it's just gonna be very challenging for you to achieve those goals, or to realize that actually, you know, the way that I've been thinking this whole time, it's not maybe the best way to think. I'm gonna try this new approach. It's, again, something else we tell you guys all the time: get some help. Start working with a coach. We're not just saying this because we're coaches, you know, work with someone you want to work with, but just work with someone that is going to give you that guidance, and it's going to take you or help you get to that level or that stage or that place that you want to be. Because if you keep doing, you keep feeling this, just if you keep having those, that mindset of I need to punish myself, if you keep having too many restrictions, if you keep trying to make up for the sessions that you didn't do or the food that you ate, that's all very unhealthy behaviors that are never going to change unless you get the help from a professional that has already done those mistakes and they can guide you through the right direction. But yeah, I think we shared quite a few tips with you guys. Again, take what's gonna work for you. You don't have to take every single tip and apply everything tomorrow, but just take what you think is gonna be beneficial for you and start applying those tips. We told you to stay hydrated. We told you to take a little pause, have more protein in your meals. Don't restrict yourself from anything. Enjoy. Listen to your hunger cues. Listen to your fullness cues. Exercise if you can. If you can't, don't punish yourself. Try not to burn more calories. Try not to kill yourself at the gym just because you ate more calories. Don't punish yourself with food, and don't punish yourself with your eating. We try to create this lifestyle, okay? It's nothing too restrictive, nothing too crazy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope this can serve you for not just this weekend, but anytime you have an event. We're talking about this specific weekend because it's this weekend, literally tomorrow.
But then we kind of like went off into like all these strategies that you could use, for life.
Just take what works for you guys. But is there anything else that you will mention, anything that you want to add before we go?
No, I think just the biggest thing, enjoy this weekend. Don't feel the guilt. And once Tuesday rolls around, I really hope everyone listening to this video, you just get back on track. That's it. Do not punish yourself. I think that's the biggest message. Don't punish yourself. Otherwise, these events are always, every year they come around, they're going to be a massive stress for you and a massive strain on your body, which you don't want. So,
Don't punish yourself and enjoy. I think that's a big thing, probably. Enjoy every single day. Just have that, find that balance. It will take time, okay? But just enjoy. But thank you so much, guys, for listening or watching this podcast. I hope you guys enjoy. If you love this episode, don't forget to share it on your social media. Tag me at Daniela Carpio and tag Alyssa at Empowered PT by Alyssa.
Oh, close. Empowerment PT by Alyssa.
You're
getting better. It's like just those last few letters. It's fine.
Empowerment PT by Alyssa. Tag us on your social media, guys. And as I always say, don't ever stop believing in yourself. And don't forget to enjoy this weekend. Ciao, ciao.